Hello, my name is Clara. Has this ever happened to you? I'll never make poses without those cool plugins. How do I even use all these weird in-game tools? Well, with my basic guide to gposing, we'll cover how to make cool gposes with the vanilla tools. No mods, no plugins. There's a lot to cover since we'll be going over the in-game tools along with some tricks. The topics we'll be covering will be shown to my side along with the timestamps in case you want to skip ahead to a certain part. Something to remember starting out with gposing or picture taking in any video game is that practice makes perfect. And while your first few pictures may not be the best, it's important to try out things and see what feels good to you. Everyone has their own style, and it may be a bit before you find yours. With all that having been said, let's start the guide. Gpose can be put on your hotbar by finding it in Actions and Traits under Extras. You can also type /gpose in chat and you will enter gpose mode. This is the gpose menu. It might look intimidating at first, but after a bit many of these sliders and options will be second nature to you. Let's start with face camera. By pressing this on the top of the menu or by pressing spacebar, you can turn your character's head or eyes towards the camera. This is the lighting feature. We'll cover this in a bit, but if you just want instant light, press this or X on the keyboard. You can freeze or unfreeze your character by pressing this or the 1 key. This freezes weather and time if you don't want the day-night cycle to progress or if you just want to see weather around your character. The remaining option is something I will go into more depth later on. Moving on, this is the camera zoom. Honestly pretty self-explanatory, but this is the slider for it. These arrows will move the zoom % by 25. Now let's move to roll angle. You can use the slider here or the Q any keys. The arrows will also roll by 25. Chromatic aberration occurs when a lens fails to focus all colors of light onto the same point, resulting in colored edges around objects. You can replicate this effect using this slider. This is the tab for color filters. Filters can add some extra style to your poses. You can also edit the intensity below. Now let's talk about depth of field. Depth of field allows us to focus specifically on our character while blurring out the background. You can edit the strength of the field with the top slider, while the bottom one lets you choose where in the scene you want to focus. The portrait preview lets you see what it would look like if you took a picture with portrait mode on. Pressing portrait mode will lock your camera into that mode until you hit the escape key. In the tab below you'll find screen effects. Please select the one that best fits your pose. Just below it you'll find frames. Some of these you can be really creative with, like taking a picture with a Polaroid. Limb darkening lets you make a custom vignette. You can also color the vignette to better theme it to the gpose you're making. Let's get into lighting. clicking these 3 buttons will add a light source into the scene. You can edit how wide the light is by clicking on type 1 to 3. Let's add 3 light sources and then edit the colors using these sliders. By editing the colors, you can make the lighting better fit the scene you're trying to construct. Moving on here, we have motion settings with the head and eye movement we covered already. Here we have movement. You can make your character walk and run in different directions while remaining stationary. Remember, the left button lets you start and stop while the right only starts. Lip movements allow you to simulate your character talking, with type 1 being casual movement to type 3 being more enthusiastic. Clicking on emotes allows you to use any emote you have unlocked in gpose mode. Normally general emotes play out one time and stop, but in gpose mode they will repeat. Special emotes are continuous that will run until you stop them by moving or otherwise. In gpose mode they function much the same, but will need to be stopped by another emote or by pausing. Expressions can be added to almost any emote. Please note that some emotes may reset the expression you have added. Status effects let you apply various debuffs and effects from the game to your character. What attire is pretty self-explanatory. Character display settings lets you show or hide anyone in the scene you're making. Control characters are yourself and players or NPCs that are near you. Non-controlled characters are further away and aren't able to be paused/controlled by you. Now that we've covered most of the gpose menu, let's cover how to get into a dungeon and some tricks you can do in there. As for locations and theming for gposes along with framing and other tips, I will cover that in part 2 of this guide. Open the Duty Finder and click on the circle here to open DF settings, then click on Explorer mode. This lets us enter the dungeon by ourselves without having to fight any enemies or bosses. Please note that you can only enter dungeons. Explorer mode does not work with trials or raids. Select a dungeon like normal and click join. You can enter with other players, but only 3 others and if they're in your party. You will enter the dungeon like normal, but as you can see, there are no enemies. You are free to explore to your heart's content. If you have a spot later in the dungeon you're wanting to get to, but don't want to run the whole way, there are teleport points at the start of the dungeon and at each boss arena. Press this over here to spawn a dummy, then use an attack on it. Now remove the dummy and go into gpose mode. Now in gpose, it will play the last action you did. This also counts for emotes and mounting. If you want to stop doing this action every time you enter gpose, exit and then type /groundset, then stand up and re-enter. Back to our action, let's say you want the pose, but not the effect. By clicking Toggle Battle Effects, the next time you perform the action, the effects will be gone, leaving you with just the action. This was just the basic guide to get you started. Part 2 will cover other aspects of gposing along with some tricks to make some cool shots. I hope this was helpful and that it leads to you making some cool poses. Please check out Part 2 for tips on framing, locations, outfits, and other tricks. See you there.